Sandy Babb. Welcome to my studio. And as promised, I am back with the Painted Birds kit, ready to start doing a craft with me session. And I will quickly go over the kit for those who have maybe not seen the kit preview. This kit is based on a mixed media book that I made several years ago, and I scanned it. The pages are in the original book are all paint and plaster and collage and just a lot of goodness. I had painted some little birds, and then I cut them out and collaged them on, and then painted little vines around them, or little leaves and branches. And so I decided to make this a digi kit. So this is what you'll get. These are the sheets. This book will make an 8.5 by 5.5 book. Here's the little nuthatch. Then we've got a little warbler of some sort. I don't know. I said this the last time. I should have looked up their names. And you've got this little red bird. And this little guy. And we've got this one. There are 7 birds in this kit. A mourning dove. I love doves. We have them in our feeders every morning. And lastly, this one. To use as what could be end papers or just background papers, I scanned the back of an old photo that was all aged, and then I used some digital collage on them. So I have 2 different sheets here. One has the nest with the eggs, and then one has the little nest in the tree with the birds. And so these could also would make great end papers on the inside of your book if you wanted to do that. Or as an alternate, let's see, I did these 2. If you didn't like the more vintagey look, I also did 2 of them in color so that you would have an option. But these would make great end papers in your book, or just, you know, for pages. Then you get a sheet of just the birds. You could use this for background paper. You can cut these out to use for journaling cards. You could even just cut the birds out and use them, you know, and apply them on different projects. You could cut these into tags, make them into pockets, into tucks, just whatever you want to do with this sheet with the birds. You get a cover. This is the front cover, and a back cover, and you get a 3-inch spine so that you have plenty of room if you're putting it together, that you can, you know, overlap in these areas or add to or whatever you want to. But you get that. Then there is, I have a bunch of small images. This is some Queen Anne's lace from an old drawing book that I overlaid with a little bird. And here is, this was a vintage songbook cover. This is out of a vintage book. It's all the little vintage ephemeras that come on this sheet. These were all things that were in my collection. Here are, let's see if we can scoot them up. I got one more that's a little bigger. That's on this sheet, and all of these have to do with birds and nests. And it also comes with a couple of little nest images, a feather image, and a few egg images. So that's all on one sheet, and I've already cut all this out, so I'll just do this. You get a couple of belly bands here. These are the background paper with some little overlaid images. So you get a couple belly bands. You get a couple of bunting banners. One says bird, one says nest. 3 little mini tags. I'm just going to kind of lay this out and then I'll zoom in on it. You get a couple of tuck spots there. Get a couple tuck spots. You get some file folder journal cards, these little file folders, and they have different little images on them. Move those little tags up so we've got room for one more file folder on there. And you will get this entire, let's see if I can come in where you can kind of see some of it closer. I'll hold it up. Whoops. And then when I pick it up, it all shifts. Yeah, that's cool. But anyway, you kind of get what I'm saying. You know, you can see a little bit of what you're getting. And you also get some tabs. You're going to get some page tabs. Now these page tabs, each set are the same, so you can glue them back to back if you want a front and back, or you can use them singly. You get some inspiration words on masking tape cutouts, and you get some tickets, some little bird tickets here, like that. You get those in the kit. You also get a couple of large oval journaling cards. You get a couple of blank coin envelopes that are just the background. You get some tags. I just threw something in the floor, I don't know what, and a large envelope. And that's everything that this kit contains. Let me get that coin envelope before I forget that it dropped down there. Okay, and that's everything the kit contains. So to get started on this kit, I've trimmed everything out. I have a stack of, I'm going to move everything I'm not using out of the way for right now. I have a stack of craft card. And I think I'm going to make this into a ring band. So what I'm going to do is get all that out of the way. I have my paper trimmer over here to the side. And what I think I'm going to do is I think I'm going to cut these in half. And then I'm going to add them to craft card just to make it a little more sturdy. And then I can kind of lay out whether you could just fold this. I mean, you really could just fold it and, you know, seal it that way. But I want a little bit more, since this is printed on presentation paper, I want a little bit more stiffness. And I could have reprinted, but I thought, I've already got one printed. I hate to, you know how we are about our ink. We, want to save our ink if we can. And plus, I don't want the holes to be in this area, so I'm going to make my inside, this a little bit bigger so that I can actually do the holes over on the craft card. So what I'm going to do is first slice down all these pages here. Now these do have a slight little white border around them. You can resize when you print. I just printed them how they were and just cut the border off. It didn't matter to me. So that brings them to, I need to see what they measure now. That makes them 10 and 3/4 by 8 1/4. Okay. So 4 1/8 should get me about center. Right? No, long ways. Ooh, Sandy, you almost cut that wrong. What did I say, 10 3/4? Oh, I almost cut that wrong, didn't I? Yeah. And I tried to get this fold in the middle. I really did. I'm not sure how well I got it in the middle because I had opened my original journal and was just holding it down and scanning it. So it was kind of hard to tell if I got that in the middle. I think what I'm going to do is kind of make myself a little tick mark there, a little fold line, and that way I can measure it out after that and I'll know exactly. I'm never an exact measurer, but yeah, that's good. So I guess I'm cutting these down to approximately 5 and 1, 2, 3, 4. I can't even tell what the number is. I think I'll just do it my cheater way. I'm not good with math, y'all. I never have been good at math. I skated through math. I took in high school the last math class that they made me take, and you got to pick. Back in the old days, you didn't have to take all this higher math, and I took general math. And I'm not going to worry about, you know, like this one I can tell is a little bit, you know, the fold line is off a little bit. I am not going to worry about that. If that bothers you, you could fold it on the fold line and then trim from here. But like I said, that's not going to bother me. I just think it enhances the design. I tried, like I said, the best I could to get it done. But anyway, back to the math. I took general math, and just, that was it for me. I was like, no more math, no more math. I hate math. And I hate when I have to do anything, some of the digital stuff, and you have to figure out DPI and pixels, and oh my word, that is just, it's painful. It's totally painful for me. I may need to get a new blade. My blade is only wanting to cut one way right now. I'll do that when I stop for a break. Just make sure I put it up. I think it's because I cut some chipboard and some heavy stuff with it, and I forgot to change the blade back after I did it. But like I said, I don't mind the little shadow of that. If that bothers you, you can trim it another way and just trim off the outside edge if you want to fold it down that line. And maybe I need to learn how to center that, but it's not happening this time. And I thought, another thing is, I thought, you know, like sometimes when you're doing a page, you can print these back to back. You can print, you know, one on the back of the other. That'll, you know, that's going to work too. But what I thought is, when I did these, I could either do them in pairs like this, or I could match up the pages where if I want them, as I'm turning them, to be, you know, matched up like this, so that I have those back to back in the binder. So that was kind of my thinking on there. Now I'm going to get them all mixed up, and I'm not going to know who's who. There we go. Okay. Because the colors vary slightly, not a lot, but they do vary slightly. Okay, so then we're going to take our trimmer again. I don't know why I put that up. And I want to figure out how much that I want to leave on my edges. Let me see. Where's a little hole, a ring thing? I'm going to want to leave a little ring area over there. I'll probably leave about, is that a 1/2 inch? Yeah, I'll probably leave a 1/2 inch. So I'm going to want to cut this at, I'm going to leave a 1/2 inch over there. I think if I cut this at 6, I'm going to have the room I want. So I'm going to cut these pieces down to 6. You're going to need 7 6-inch wide pieces. You're going to want the 8.5 this way, the 11 this way, and we want to cut 7 6-inch pieces, because there are 7 of these. If you want 7 pages, you may not want 7 pages. Okay, save those. We'll use those later. And the next thing to do is really just lay out your pieces and decide where you want to put, let's widen out a little bit, where you want to put your, how you want to put your pages together. And you're going to adhere these to this, and you could sew them, you can glue them, you can use double-sided like a score tape or something, whatever you want to use. Glue stick, wet glue, whatever. But I like this order. I think I'm going to use this. So his little background, I actually won't be using this right now. So that I'm just going to stick aside, because this one's going to go here. Okay, I'm going to pause you for 1 second. I need to go get some ink and a dauber, and we'll start inking. Okay, I am back. I have some Archival Ranger Potting Soil ink and an applicator. And all I'm going to do right now, I would say if you like to ink, I would definitely do that. I don't like this cut looking edge. You can always see that white paper, and I'm not inking heavy. I'm just kind of getting that white edge off because I just don't like that white edge. And it's really better to go ahead and do this now before you know, and I don't need to ink the back because the back of my paper is not going to show. It's going to be, you know, adhered to this. Now this one, you know, you may want to ink a little bit heavier. I just want a little edging, and I'm just going to show you on one of these what I'm going to do. And then I'm not going to make you sit through me inking all this. I will ink and then come back. I'm going to ink both sides so I get a little ink on both edges. Okay, got everything inked. I am ready to start doing a little bit of the assembly. And this one, the first page, since I'm going to do double backs, you know, with that one, I'm going to discard that. So I'm going to want to attach this page, leaving a little border about the same on the edge, just a little tiny, almost like an 1/8 inch border. I want it over toward, you know, this is going to be my binding side, so I want to leave a little more space over there. So this is how I'm going to attach this. Now I'm trying to decide if I want to stitch the pages down or if I want to stitch around this and then glue them down, because sometimes it's hard to get, say like this page and this page, to have them backing each other, to get them in the exact same place so your stitching looks right. Now, you do not have to sew on this journal. I just want to, so I thought I would come back and give you that little tidbit. And what I think I'm going to do is my machine's been acting a little crazy. Since this page I know is kind of kicked out, I'm going to pause you. I'm going to stitch this page and see how I like the outcome. And if I like it, then I'm going to go ahead and do it. And I'm going to use brown thread. So hang on just 1 minute. Okay, did a test stitch on this piece of paper. Let's come in so you can see that. You can see that I used a dark brown thread. I wanted to give you a couple little quick tips for stitching on paper, and then I'm going to pause. I'm going to stitch all these little pieces and then I'll come back. I have a designated needle, a 16 or a 20. That's a little number that'll be on the package of your needles that go up in your sewing machine. A 16 or a 20 are really good for paper cardstock, that kind of thing. So have a designated needle because it will blunt and it doesn't do as well to go back and sew your fabric. Also, use cotton thread. Don't use the heavy like quilting thread or upholstery thread or any of the thicker threads, because it tends to bunch up and it doesn't lay as smoothly. So try to stick with your silks and your cottons and your thinner threads. You're going to get a prettier stitch with that. Even though, you know, maybe you want that sort of bulky look, but I've had trouble with, because when you're doing paper, it's not like fabric. It doesn't have the grip it has when it's going through your feed dogs, and so it might be a little slippy. And so, you know, you may not get on paper the most perfect straight stitch like you're going to get when you're doing fabric, but that's just part of the rusticity of the look. So I really wouldn't worry about that. The other thing I would recommend is to lengthen your stitches. The less holes that you put in here perforating, the less chance of this being like a paper doll or, you know, one of those tear out things. So I usually do my stitch on about a 3.5 on my stitch length to lengthen it just a little bit when I'm doing a straight stitch. And you can adjust that if you're doing a zigzag or whatever. And I would just say, take a plain piece of paper and about the weight of what you're using and play with your machine to decide what you what works for you and what doesn't. These are the things that have worked for me. Now, if you're putting cardstock like this, or even just this heavier card, you can get a nicer, prettier stitch on there because it's heavier and it's just not as slippy as just the paper is. So those are my stitching tips. Now, I'm going to pause you. I'm going to stitch around all of my colored pieces of paper, and then I will be back and we'll start putting this together. Okay, I'm back. You can see I've stitched around everything. Let me, whoops, widen out the other way, go the other way. And I am going to stack these up so I can work with them one by one. I left the strings because I might leave the strings on this journal. I don't know. Then again, I might not. So with the first one, like I said, there's going to be a cover on here. So I'm going to remove this one sheet and put it aside. And I'm going to want to adhere this, like I said, about 1/8 of an inch. You know, kind of 1/8 of an inch around there. So now you can adhere this any way you want to. You can use any glue you want to, use any. I'm going to try this aqua glue that I got. I got this at a thrift store. It was brand new. It's some of the Tombow glue, and I have not used it. I cut it open. I wanted to see how it does. I always like to put glue on my stitching, on that stitching and that little edge. I kind of like this. I don't know how wet it's going to be, though. That's my thing with some glues. I don't like how wet it gets. Mind frame, yeah, well, barely. Let me scoot up. I always forget. I tend to work close to myself, so, you know, just going to kind of, whoops, kind of go around in there, and we'll see what happens with this glue. If I like it or not, I'll get another kind if I don't. I do not like glue on my fingers. The only thing I like about working with wet glue like this is it gives you a little bit of wiggle. Okay, that doesn't look like it's going to bubble and buckle the paper. That's good. That's what I was worried about. I don't like it when the glue buckles your paper. You know, like you get a buckle of whatever. I think I'll get my brayer to bray the pages. I was trying to see if there was one that was cleaner than the other one. I thought I had a clean one. Evidently, the last time I was painting, I didn't clean very well. Just to make sure that that's down good. Okay? Now I'm going to flip that page over, and I'm going to take the next page, which is going to be this one, and I'm going to do the same thing, but I want to make sure that I leave my extra over on that side. And we're just going to continue through and glue all of these down. There we go. Get that coming out. And put that right next to the stitching on the outside so it'll kind of squish toward the edge. And like I said, I'm going to try to leave these threads. They may drive me nuts, and they may disappear. Just kind of get a good little sprinkle across there. Maybe a little bit right there. Like I said, I want to situate this one away from that edge because that's going to be your binding edge. Try to get it about even, about 1/8 of an inch away. And yeah, I think this was my best bet, not trying to sew it all. Okay. And at one time. Okay. Now, next page. I want to start this one. I'm going to leave my binding edge over here. And you are going to continue alternating until you get all your pages put together for that. Okay, I've done all my gluing. Now remember when I first started this, I removed one page from this, the matching page. So your book should look like this, because I decided I wanted coordinating pages together. So as I'm thumbing through, and you can see this is going to be my binding edge, you know, until I get all the way to the back. And that's where this extra piece of paper comes in. And you're going to glue it to the back. So my book's going to be really cohesive in that, I need to glue it on that side, don't I? Yeah. Let's see. I'm seeing which way I like it best. Okay. And you're going to glue this one over to this side, just like this one. You're going to glue it over because you have to leave your binding here. And we've been doing opposite on gluing that in on the other pages. So just wanted to show you that real quick. And that will get everything there. Get all these things done up and put down on the page. Like I said, this is going to be here, so when this folds over, I'm going to want this one on this left side. We've been putting the birds to the right side, and these the birds to the left, the plane to the right. This last one, you need to put it to the left so that you have your binding edge in the right place, if that makes any sense at all. Not trying to be confusing, but I think you know what I'm talking about. Okay, just gonna make sure everything is good and sealed, and now we have our pages are ready for the next step. And what I want to do, I'm going to try to leave these, but I'm going to tell you, this little mess, a nest right here, is going to drive me nuts. I bet you before this project's over, those will be cut off. I want to do some reinforcing here to stiffen this up a little bit. So to do that, I'm going to pick out some sort of paper. Okay, I think I'm just going to kind of use a bunch of different stuff. This is just all leftover things that I have in this basket. I just have to make sure it's not so old that it crumbles, you know, and I have to make sure it's long enough. Like, I really kind of like these numbers. I don't know if that's long enough for the page, though. It's not quite long enough. It could be if I collaged a couple of pieces together, though. It could be. I think the sheet music will be long enough. Yes, it will be. Look at that, says Robbins Music Corporation. I think I'd rather have the music portion. And I'm not worried about if it's tattery on one end or whatever. And I'm going to just test a 1-inch strip of paper. I am not sure that I'm going to want 1 inch or 1.5 inches. I'm going to be adding some fiber, but I want to test it. I always like to do a little test. I'm going to do 1.5 inches as a test and see if I want it smaller than that. We're gonna be folding that in half. And you also want to choose papers that are not so brittle, and you can choose different papers and do a little bit of a collage, which I may do. You know what? The 1.5 inches covers up the stitching a lot unless I bring it over. Let me get a piece of fiber to see. Pull a little fiber bundle here. See if I can get that out of that basket without moving everything. I'm going to want to put a little bit of cheesecloth to this. Now, another thing that would have been cute is like to layer your cheesecloth around these edges and let that hang out from underneath your image. That would be cute. Let's just get a snip. I just want to play with this idea, you know, of what I want to do to see how I want to execute it. I I want a little bit of the fibers coming from this edge. I want a little of the fibers coming toward the page like that. They kind of come in. And I'm, you know, I want it all the way up, and so I'm trying to decide if it bothers me. So I think 1-inch strips, because that way this pulls this back just a little bit. It's not quite as thick. So yes, 1-inch strips are what I want. Okay. Kind of zoom back out as I pilfer through some paper here. And I decided that this was a good piece that I could do for one. And I may overlay them because I kind of like the, and if you want to, you could score. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to kind of, you know, figure out and fold in half. And I'm going to want to sandwich this in here. And see, that leaves enough that when the cheesecloth, where is that little piece of cheesecloth? I lost it. Wow, that's crazy. But when this, there it is, it got stuck with the other piece. But when this is on there, it's going to leave it where it doesn't overpower the bird so much. You kind of get that same 1/8 inch border all the way around. Now, if you don't care about symmetry, that may not bother you. And you don't have to put it in there if you want it to come closer to the edge. Now, see, I'm guessing myself over. I'm like, do I even like that little edge? Does that look weird to me? And yes, this is really how I create. I question myself all the time. So you're seeing the real deal here as it happens. I don't want too much of that tattery. I may not put it right where the bird is. I may put it kind of around the bird, like that. I'm going to go 1.5 inches. Okay, I'm committed. I'm committed, y'all. I might need to be committed, but, you know, that might be a better. I'm going to cut this down. Okay, so 1.5 inches. I think I'll be happier with this. And before I fold, I'm going to ink. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut 1.5 inches by 8.5 strips of a variety of papers. And you could do the same paper on all yours if you want to. I'm going to ink the edge. I'm going to do one full one to show you what I'm doing, and then I'll stop and do the others and come back. So we're just going to work with this one right here. Kind of clear some of this back. We can have a little room, little breathing room. There we go. So I have inked this. I'm going to fold it in half lengthwise. You can score it if you want to make the folding easier. I'm not going to do that. And I can ink this edge after it's attached. So I'm going to want to decide, do I want my front page to be like this? Do I want it to be like this? And I actually like it like that. I'm going to do it this way. Okay. So I'm going to take a few little cuts of this cheesecloth. I don't know if I want to use this one. I may want to use a darker color. I've got some that's dyed here. Here's some that's a little darker. I think I want to use this. This has been tea dyed. I think I want to use that color. So get rid of that. And I'm just going to cut some little pieces. You don't want to cut neatly, just kind of, you know, and some of this is double, I'm sure. Kind of pull it a little bit. And I'm going to put a little glue under there on my cut side. I want that rough side to be out. And I'm going to line some cheesecloth. And I'm kind of putting the cheesecloth right here on this stitching. I'm going to put a little bit on there. Just a tiny, enough to hold. Actually, you know what? I'm going to use a glue stick on this part because I am going to stitch down part of that. And I think the glue stick will hold it just enough that it won't gum up my needle. I just want it to hold enough for me to, so you can kind of see. I'm gonna just in places put a little bit of that. I need to stand. I never work sitting down, and when I sit down I just feel like so uncomfortable. Get a little more glue here. You can always trim it away wherever you don't want it once you're done. I just want it to hold while I stitch. And I'm going to put a little bit here on this bottom. This is just a craft bond. This says extra strength, but I'll tell you, this is not my favorite glue stick, but it's good for this. It's good for just that little piecing that you need to do. And I do like to glue the ends here and here, and that helps to hold it on and it doesn't move while I'm sewing. And I'm going to put that right down there on that edge, and I can stitch that in if I want to. I'm going to flip it over and look and see if I want to do the same. I may not do this on all the pages. I'm kind of just, you know, going with it. And see, this is still loose, so I can still do whatever I want to. I might want lace on some of the pages. You may want to tuck lace there, or I may want to use a color. I may want to use some frayed ribbon, or some sari silk or something bunched up there. And actually, I think on this one, I don't know. I'm committed here, and I have to make up my mind what I'm going to do here before I do anything that's going to, you don't want anything too bulky, you know, because we are going to have to punch a couple holes in this for our rings. So you don't want anything to get under this section. You want to keep it right there at that little tip edge. So that's what I need to decide next. What do I have over here that I might want to put in there if I put something in that side? Looking at my fabric bundles here, I know I've got some ribbon in there somewhere. Let's see, I've got a little bundle that has some lace. I think this one's got lace in it. Let's check that out. See what I've got in here. I don't know if I have much that's loose. I may have to get something else. There's not a lot of loose lace in here. There's a little bit of that. That's loose. See if I like that, or if that's too... I don't know that with this one, that is straight and straight. You know, like this is straight, that's straight. Not liking that too much. But I do have some of this packing paper that I really like. And maybe I just want a piece of the packing paper on this one, and I like that. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue right there, just enough to, I can always tack and do things down. Right there. That's all I'm going to do. So now this one is going to go over to the sewing machine, and I don't like that white paper in there. What is that? There's some white paper stuck on that. Yeah. And I'm questioning whether this is going to go through the machine very well. I might need to make sure I stitch on this side, because I can dab and glue that down. But I'm going to do a little of this on this side and a little of this on this side. I'm going to go to my machine and I'm going to zigzag stitch this down. So hang on just a minute. Okay, so you can see that I have bound this down with stitching. I'm going to turn it kind of sideways so you can see that. I've zigzag stitched. I've caught this in there. And if any place, if it's too loose or flappy, you can just take a little dot of glue and glue that down. The other side, I chose just to do a little piece of paper. I am going to glue this down, but I'm going to be adding some collage to this also. So, you know, I am going to want to catch this paper in a couple places where it touches and hits, because I don't want it to come off. You know, I don't want it to be torn off. But I also don't want to lose too much of that lumpy, loose look of it, you know. So I'm going to kind of be careful putting that down. Okay, that's not very sticky glue, is it? Like I said, I've never used this glue. I found this in a thrift store, and it was brand new, and it was 50 cents, so I thought, hey, I'll try that. This piece here is a little wonky crazy. It needs a little glue, and I can kind of scrunch that up a little bit there. The rest of it's fine. Now, I'm going to do that to all of my pages. I'm going to choose a binding style, and I may leave some of these strings, I may not, I don't know. They're making me a little crazy though. Cut these off. And I don't know what I'll tuck in each little thing. I'm going to just look through my stuff, and I'm going to do it page by page. I don't want them all the same. So, and once this is done, I'm going to take I'm losing everything, my ink. I guess I could widen back out. Y'all, I am sorry if this is a horrible video. I get so involved in what I'm doing, I forget that I have to, you know, pay attention to the camera. Okay, so that is how you're going to set up your pages. I'm going to go down and ink on this. And you're going to repeat this on all the pages. Do whatever you're going to do on your binding. Now, I'm going to show you one more thing, and then we are going to kind of call this video done. We're going to want to do some hole reinforcers, and let me grab a package of those. I just had those yesterday. Now, what did I do with them? Here they are. Hobby Lobby does sell these. You can get them, you know, wherever. These were from Hobby Lobby. With their little, they have a special office supply display in our store over by the Fine Arts, and that's where I got these. And these were white. And so what I want to do is I want to ink over all of these to give them the same tone as my inking that I'm using on my journal. Just going to go ahead and ink this whole thing. And then I'm going to get a script stamp, and I am going to overstamp that one, like this one. You can see little bits of words. Let me grab a script stamp real quick. This is my favorite one. This thing is so old. It's called French Script by Stampin' Up. And I just kind of ink a portion of this and stamp right over that. Hopefully I got all of them. If not, I'll overstamp them. I think I could use some more. A little darker there. And I'm even going to go the other way. Go a little darker here. I like a lot of the scripty, you know, area. So those you're going to need to do those. And we are going to decide where our holes are going to go. What was that? It's that crunchy paper I was on. What is that? Something's crazy going on. And I'm going to do, let's see, pencil. I'm going to do these about, how far is this line right here? That looks about right to me, about where I want to do it, because I'm only going to do 2 rings. So it may be 2.5 inches, or 2 and, so I'm getting too crowded up here. I might have to stop and clean. Let's see, do I want it 2 inches up? That would be right here. You can do 2 or 3 ring. I'm going to do 2 1/4. 2 1/4, and kind of right in the middle of there, I'm going to make a mark. And then I'm going to do 2 1/4 from this side, and kind of right in the middle, make a mark. Now you can use, I don't own a crocodile, you can use a crocodile, you can use a regular punch, or if you have a leather punch works. So let me grab that. Hopefully I can have the strength to just do this with a normal punch, because this isn't real thick. We're going to punch that. I'm just using a normal hand punch. And then I want to place one of the little hole reinforcers around the hole on both sides, on both holes. Like this, okay? And this is going to be your first step in prepping this journal. I know it's a lot, but it's kind of sometimes takes a lot though, doesn't it? Okay, so now we have cut, trimmed, sewn, stitched, glued. This is what you're going to do to get your pages ready for decoration. So I'm going to pause right here, go ahead and do my other 6 pages. I'll come back, then we're going to stop the video there, and I'll come back and do decorating, because I got to think a little bit on that, okay? Okay, once you get your second page done, I've done a couple of different pieces of paper and glued them together. Because I liked these. I put another little piece of matching paper here. I've gone back to the cheesecloth here, and I may just alternate these. I don't know. I may use different papers. I've used a couple of, different here. I've stitched this down. So I'm going to want to line up my 2 pieces here to make sure that I mark correctly where, right in the center of that, so I get my holes in the same spot. Yeah. And now that I did this, I kind of wished I had left some pockets in here. Like I'd left some pockets, but I didn't. So, when you're thinking through, sorry, I'm rummaging, but it's getting a little messy here. When you're thinking this, if you were thinking it through, and I'm not, I'm just doing it on the fly. So, I'm not... It's easy to miss something, if you're not really thinking a project through. But you're going to want to, that's how you'll line up your holes, okay? Thought I would come back and give you that little tip, which I know that all this stuff is probably really self-explanatory, but, sometimes everybody, some people want to know every step, and I'm trying to do every step without torturing you through every step. And I'll put my little hole reinforcers down there, and I've inked the edge, and there is, here's a front page, a coordinating page, then this one, and I'm going to keep going. So, I am going to pause you while I do the other 5. Hang on. Okay, I am down to my final steps. I thought I would show you where I was. I did cut all these crazy threads off. They were making me nuts, but I'm going to save them because I might make an element out of them. So I'm just going to put them over there. Here is my first page that we did together. I put a little bit of the cheesecloth on there. And on the back side, I put that little piece of that paper and used a little glue to kind of help it hold down. On the next page, does that one go together? Just a second. I think I got my birds mixed up. No, I don't. Okay, that just didn't look like it went together. It looked too bright. But when I hold it up like this, okay. I was just making sure, because it sure did seem like, no, that's correct. Here, this one goes with this one. I thought that didn't look the right color. Okay, I'm back in order now. That's another thing. You might want to put sticky notes on here to keep yourself in order. And I put a little coordinating piece. On this one, I used 2 strips and just glued them together and then folded it over. I've still got to go through here and mark some of the holes and punch those and do some inking. And then I also wanted to say, because these papers I used are really old, they're really, really vintage papers, I am going to, when I'm done, take some clear Liquitex matte gel medium, and I'm going to coat my papers on these edges. And the reason why, when we put this extra paper on here, this just gives your spine a little bit more strength and you know, a little bit more strength and stability as far as, you know, when you're turning it. It's just going to give you that little more effort, and it's also a design element, you know. You can use it as a design element. So, and this one got a little piece of a doily. Now, you don't want to get too bulky on this edge, because remember, this is the area where you are, where your binding is, and you don't want it too thick, but just a little something is okay. You know, just a little bit of something, you know, doesn't hurt it at all. Just want to get this inked, and I am going to stop the project after this portion. I'm not even sure how long this video is. I didn't really time it, but I decided, since it's kind of a craft with me, I won't, you know, worry about it. So, okay. So you can see that this one got a little bit of the cheesecloth, and then I left this one blank. So some of these I just left a little blank. That, I'm just going to rub a little ink on this paper. It's a little bright, so I'm going to just ink that paper down slightly. On this side too. It's just a little bit bright, you know, whiter paper, you know, compared to what's used on all the rest. And I wonder if I need to do that on this too, here in the front, because it does look a little, the tone of the paper is a little brighter. So I'll go ahead and do that too. And that's going to kind of complete. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave those in the comments. That's going to kind of complete this, and you can see that I did this one by, oops, I put a little bit of fabric in here. This was just a piece of scrap fabric that I had. So, like I said, I've got to finish up my work here, and then I'll coat those edges and let those dry, and then come back, and I'm going to think about the embellishments. And like I said, it would have been cool if I'd thought and left some of these as pockets. You know, maybe taken 2 pieces of this and, you know, left a pocket in between there. You know, you can probably think through your design a little bit better than I have. I just knew what kind of journal I was going to make, and I didn't really think beyond it, you know, to anything else. I just, you know, was thinking this is what I want to do, and you need to think about what kind of journal you want. You know, you may want to do something just this simple where you could just do writing on the pages, or you may want to add a few in here in your spine. You may want to add a few pieces of paper that you can flip back and forth. But you can always, you know, add those, you know, a little paper pad here and there in between by doing the same binding, which is kind of what I was thinking I might do. So, you know, I did think it a little bit, but not enough that I really, you know, and I may go back and use that script stamp and stamp on this solid piece. I just used this piece of solid paper. I was just using scraps, whatever I had in scraps, but I think I would like to have a little bit of the stamping on that one and that one, so I'll go back and do that. You know, you just kind of go through your book. This one, I didn't put anything in the spine of it. I left it blank. Now on the back, it's got a little bit of burlap fringe, but I basically left it, you know, blank. And I hope this has been enjoyable and helpful for some of you. if you're new to junk journaling, this is a really simple journal. You don't have to do a lot of sewing and binding, and it works up fairly quick. You can get through the process fairly quick. It's quicker when you're not taping and stopping, and you can just kind of whip through the project. So okay, a little bit of that ink on here, and I can see where that paper right there didn't get enough glue under the edge of it, but that's okay because I'm going to go back with the matte medium and strengthen this paper because it is it's older paper, and it probably doesn't have the the longevity that it would if it was a newer paper that was not so aged. But I do like old paper, so you just make allowances for it and do it. So oh, some of that burlap is under there. I may have to have my husband help me with that hole. I don't know if I can punch that. I don't have a lot of grip in my hands. I've got a condition that affects my hands, and it's affected my some of my strength. And I used to could punch that right through, but boy, I'm not getting it this time. I think I can kind of punch that through though, and cut around that a little bit, that burlap. I tried to make sure that it didn't go over that far, but it did a little bit on this side. Let's see if we can get some little scissors and snip around that. It's just a little piece right there on that edge. Oops, I'll tear my old paper up. Okay, there. It's not a perfect hole, but it'll do in a pinch. It's not going to affect it, and the ring, this little, what do you call this? Enforcer. I was going to say strengthener, but I couldn't think of the right word. Enforce, the little hole reinforcer will help with that. So, not to worry. Okay, let's inky that. Get this side, ink a little bit. Actually, that is extending a little bit. I don't like that. Paper and stuff extending right there. There we go. Okay. This one got a little bit of the burlap on it. This one got cheesecloth. This last one got cheesecloth. And then the back, I did nothing on the back. And I am going to ink that brighter, that brighter paper down a little bit too while I'm looking at it. It's just a little bright. That little piece there is maybe a little brighter than I want it. Okay. Last one to punch. Actually, last one. Hopefully I didn't get anything where these holes are. That's why I was trying to keep it toward that edge. Okay. And this is going to wind up our session for this. And when we come back, we will do all the fun decorations. This is, I'm going to admit to you, this is not my favorite part of the journal. This little, all the fussy part, this is not my favorite part, the assembly. I love the decorating. That's my favorite part. Probably everybody's favorite part. Okay, here we go. We'll do one final little flip look. I'll see if anything is out of place or needs anything done to it. Here I've got my first little bird and my second one, my third one, my fourth one. I want to stamp that. Fifth one, maybe stamp that. I'm going to grab that stamp. I'd already put it up because I cleaned off my table before I came back, but I do think I want a little bit of text here and there. So we'll just go ahead and do that together. This one is fine because it's pretty busy. This one maybe a little bit here and there. Let's get some ink. And try to scoop this up where you can see it. I'm just going to do a little bit of over stamping on the edge. I kind of like that on that. And I'm not going to do it to all of them, but some of them I do want a little bit more on there. Okay, that one is fine. That one's fine. This is the one that I wanted to make sure that I got some stamping on. Right here on this blank one. Okay, just a little. And I'm going to do a little bit here on this one. Down here. And down here. Okay. And this one on the blank area here, I'm going to do a little bit here. And a little bit on the other side. And also this one has sort of a more blank. And you could leave that as a rest space, but I just think, you know, it's a chance to add. I think I'll do just a little bit on here since I stuck that in my ink. Okay. So we have all of our main journal pages ready. I'm going to stop this video here and we will come back and start the next session. So thanks for joining me, and I will see you around the studio.